just a ride. Whoa, oh, it's just a ride.
Welcome back to the Just a Ride podcast. Just a ride, just a ride, just a ride. Your number one source for philosophical bullshit and adolescent humor.
12 years old the whole time.
Zach's looking at me like, bro, you hijacked my intro.
I love it.
What is going on?
I'm over here looking like, thank you.
You need to add in an advice that will take you far.
And advice
so
that
far
will
into
take
a hole you will never
deep hole.
Right into the ditch. My name is Shaiden Hutchman, the Poobah.
Poobah. Mm-hmm. And I'm Zach Flanary, the Peebah.
Yes.
And I'm Jeff Getchell. What was I doing?
You're the
just
wank
the
ball.
the jerk mate.
You're the wank ball. You're wank ball. We all have to have a ball.
That's copyright infringement. You can't be jerk mate.
Was that jerk ball? That's a porn site, isn't it?
He's got this big shit-eating grin on his face. That's a porn thing.
Well, what the hell are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today, Script Keeper?
I've got some stuff. I got the script over here. I can share it with you since you're talking.
No, don't ruin the magic,
I
dude.
ruined the
It's
magic.
like peeking behind the curtain at the Wizard of Oz.
Well, now I want to talk about the shadowboxing thing that you were talking about. But we're going to talk about
shadowboxing.
We're going to talk about the 5 Fs. The what are they?
Fight.
Flight.
Freeze. Fuck. Or feed.
And feed. A couple of those don't sound right to me. We're going to get to that.
Is that a zombie thing?
Could be, yeah.
Well, and we're
Is
talking
it?
about the 5 basic instincts of life.
Well, yeah, but I'm thinking of those. It's like in a crisis situation. Do people just like, holy fuck, and then start fucking things?
Usually when
Well, go
instincts
through the
come.
categories.
We'll get to
and we
okay.
can get into
We'll get to it. All right. We're also going to talk about spit in food because my mother was the queen of spit in food, and I want to hear your
She
guys'
spit in your
stories.
food, or her food is spit in.
That's possible too.
I've been
but she
carrying
thought it
on
was
her
quite magic.
legacy and spitting in your food since we met, actually.
That's why fast food tasted so good to me as a child, and now you've kept it along. I still like fast food. We're also going to talk about gross festival stories. We each have been to many festivals, and we all have some stories. We're going to talk about sociopaths. That one's going to be an interesting one. It's kind of a broad topic. We're going to talk about the Reasonableist Party. Just this silly idea that we had as people that don't like government.
No, it's not silly. We're starting a new
It's a
legitimate
new political party.
I've been
Must
talking
join.
about starting this for like the last
It
12
will
years.
compete with the top 2. Yeah. And then we're also going to talk about books that changed our lives and the things I learned, fuck this, and also advice we give ourselves, like always. So let's talk about, I don't know, why don't you talk about the shadowboxing thing you were just talking about? That was pretty funny.
Just in the, we were just discussing, like,
This is one of those things where it's like, oh, you do that too? Nice.
yeah, one of those things like, you know, you got a big night coming up, you want to get laid, and but you want to be able to, you want to give it a good show, and so
Or if you're married and you want your
Yeah,
wife
you
to
don't-
have
you don't
a
have to be
good
a date
time.
necessarily.
Any
anything,
big night
you know?
with any committed or non-committed
But
person.
you don't want to be,
choose.
you don't want to be a teacup, hot, steamy, done in 2 minutes. You want to
Right.
last. So you shadow box. I mean, you train for any big event, right? So you shadow box in the morning. In other words, you rub one out, and getting all ready for the big game, and then.
Makes sense.
And then you get to the big game and you realize, oh my God, I just
Pulled a muscle.
I'm tired.
I wipe myself out.
I worked too hard.
I wipe myself out during training. Then there's that, oh my God, now we're here. And
she's like,
as
"What's
you
going
get
on? Is it
older,
me?"
just going, so here's the deal.
Right, you can rationalize
Here's the
it
thing.
with her.
Here's what happened. I was thinking about tonight. I wanted to perform,
I was thinking about you,
can
baby.
Just totally explain. As you get older in life, you can explain that. Everybody's like, yeah, it sounds reasonable.
I could recharge a lot better in my 20s.
But we all in our youth, we've all still had that happen where you think you're going to be good, and then you're like, I guess that's when you realize, oh shit, maybe I'm getting older. This is a problem.
Game time is sometimes a different kind of game.
Yeah,
I mean,
but then
it's not practice time.
But
it's
you're
game
still
time.
too immature.
Let's
to
play
just-
Xbox.
Yeah, let's cuddle a little bit and talk about our feelings and stuff a
Hence,
bit
you're
more.
still too immature to even explain that situation. So you come up with some crazy,
exactly.
whatever excuse.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm what's that term? Oh,
I got a lot of stress.
babe, I'm a demisexual. I have to have a really deep,
Ah,
intimate,
wish I
emotional
would've known
connection
that.
with you before I can, perform in a sexual. We've been married for 15
Right,
years.
exactly. Like, oh shit. Oh, man. We'll have to go down that road some other time. So that's a nice way to start. Shadowboxing.
You just
I
like
just
the
never heard
shadowboxing.
I'd never
Yeah.
heard that before. But why don't we start with the spit in food?
Take it away.
Well, I just kind of wanted to shit on my mom a little bit.
Noticing a theme here.
Yeah.
2.7. 2.7.
This is all. Tell me about your mother, and I will.
2.7 fetish.
Now that's a little too far, sir. I just caught what you said there. Gross. That's not one of my 2.7.
I didn't say it.
That's not one of my 2.7 fetishes. I tell you what. Despite what Pornhub would tell you in the fucking okay.
I'm on the fence about it.
Okay. Well, no, I don't know if you guys know this, but I think it's common sense at this point to be courteous to the people that make your food.
Yeah.
In any facet. At
Self-preservation,
a deli,
one might argue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And fast food is one where there's already kind of some barriers between you, like that shitty box. For my whole life, the box that you talk to speak to the person inside.
I thought you were talking about the box that they come in, like the burger
shitty
box.
burger boxes.
You're like, what do you want them to do? Hand it to you like all
Open.
raw?
I want a plate.
You want them to raw
dog it. Raw dog me my burger.
Raw dog in the burger.
No. 2.7 raw dog. No. Basically trying to talk through that box. It's blah blah blah, and it's very loud. And if we've worked fast food, or you've seen people work fast food, and you know that it's whatever. It's hot, sweaty, and that loud shit is obnoxious. Blah blah blah. My mom was the kind of person where, I mean, she was the epitome of what they hate. Like the volume was already like, what the fuck, lady? Like, I am right here. This is in my ear. She's like, hello, I like a bird, But she would also do the things that would piss off everyone involved. Where
change the order 6 times.
But she would literally get up to. She would not do it while she was waiting in the car. This is when cell phones. So she'd call me and be like, what would you like from this place? While the person's like, hello, ma'am, what can I get you from Jack in the Box? And she's like, hold on a second, please. Zach, what would you like? And I'm like, holy fuck, hang up now. I want nothing from you ever. What are you doing?
You're going to get us all killed.
I'm getting spit burgers, regardless of what I order. And it was like that my whole life. And my mom didn't realize that they could hear you talk even when it wasn't your order.
I'm blinking in surprise and shaking my head right now.
Right. It's like, yes, they don't stop listening when you say, and that'll do it. Then when you're like, what a fucking bitch. My mom wouldn't curse, but she'd be like, that lady's, I want to get her fired or something. And it's like, that's spitting food. And it was one spitting food thing after another. And whatever it takes to get your food spit in, she checked off every box. And so, I mean, at a young age, we would get to the drive-through window and I'd be hiding my face. I'd have like a coat over me or whatever it was. And I'm like, I am not related to this lady. And she's like, what? It's like spitting food, eh? But I didn't know that as a kid. I'm just like, you ruined their day for no reason other than you're like confused at how fast food works or something. And so
you got like collateral spit damage,
dude. So much. We were joking before this, but I think that's why
biscuits wasn't enough.
I had spit burgers.
She made you
too.
Eat stranger spit on a regular basis.
And I think that's why fast food tastes better when I was a kid. And I'm just not getting the same amount of spit in it that I used to. And I guess that's the ingredient.
But it didn't do shit for your immunity.
It didn't. No, I'm allergic to a lot of things. So
maybe it made it worse.
It could have made me sick. So I wanted to bring that up because I wanted to shit on my mom because it's fun. But have you guys ever seen a person act like that where call somebody on the phone instead of before they get to the line, instead of while they're in the line, like, hey, what would you like? I'm about to order. They waited to order to call me with people behind. That's my mom in a nutshell. It makes me think she was a bit of a sociopath.
I mean, I think
didn't really care about the other folk around. But have you ever? We'll slim it down. Have you ever suspected having spit in your food?
Yes. Okay. So that whole, if you're a cop, don't go through a drive-through. Mm-hmm. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
That is a very, very real thing. People don't like the police. I know. Surprise, shock, right? And it shocked me. Oh my God. How could you not like me?
I very nice person.
I think
I'm my favorite fucking cunt awesome. There is.
And unfortunately, I was hungry and did not bring food and had to go through a drive-through, which I hardly ever did.
Did you shadowbox that morning? Work up an appetite?
More than likely. More than likely.
Certainly.
No, because I probably would have made a sandwich before I left the house.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least expected my shadow to. I don't know. So going through a drive-through, order hamburger, fries, and a drink. Pretty standard. Fries come in one of the cardboard boxes. Mm-hmm. And I just happened to
fucking
look
cardboard
down
box.
into my fries before I took them out, and there is orange fucking pubic hair in my fucking French fries.
Wow.
And not
There's
just like a little bit.
orange is not
like
good.
a nice
That's
big
gnarly.
chunk of fuck
Like a-
your sink
like-
up hair.
Like a bush.
Okay.
So
All right,
Ronald McDonald
okay.
was like, fuck this guy.
Pause. Pubic hair or spit preference?
Oh.
Go.
Pubic hair, because you can pull it right
I'll
out of
take-
your mouth.
I'll take pubic hair
Fuck, both of you guys spit. I'll take spit.
No spit. No spit.
But, I
you
mean-
just basically kiss somebody versus licking their pubes.
True.
Well, either way.
But I can pull the yeah. But I will have ingested
Learned
their
so
spit. I got a spit story for later. I'll tell you this some other time.
So,
Ooh, I have a spit story.
so I mean, obviously, so like, and then I was like, less than pleased, you could probably imagine.
yeah.
And then like, motherfucker, do I actually even like this? Just happened to me. Yeah, I want revenge and.
Right.
And I have the power to do it.
Yeah.
You motherfucker. Right? And here I am. I'm like, you 17-year-old, I'm going to fucking kill you.
I don't
It's gonna
see
be
any
a
other
problem.
red-haired guys. It's got to be.
But then
you.
I'm like, I need to
I've
call
never
a
hit a child
supervisor
before,
'cause-
but I will hit you.
Yeah, well, then that wasn't even true. Yeah. So I'll add on to that too. Yeah. I had it all so real quick on that. I had an ex-girlfriend one time. We were in the just getting to know you phase, like not even quite a date yet, you know. She learned what I did. She thought I was a bouncer. I'm like, no, close. I'm a cop. And then later on in the night, she's like, so have you ever hit a woman? I'm like, no. Well, wait a minute. Personally or professionally? 'Cause professionally, it's a different story. I mean, you know, there's, you know, when they try to stab you, you're going to hit them.
Yeah.
It happens. So, yeah. Anyway,
How dare you?
what was the story I was telling? Oh, the pubic hair story. So anyway, I ended up calling the supervisor because I'm like, I'm going to kill this kid. Like, this isn't going to go well, and I'm going to be going over counters and running back
It's a
there.
full farva from.
And I'm like, it's red hair. There can't be very many red-haired kids back there. And sure as shit, there was not. There was one long red-haired skater-looking dude
Like, yeah.
who, you know, I mean,
Let
he was
me
already
guess
kind
who
of
it
pasty
might be.
white, but
His T-shirt
all,
literally said "fuck the police."
Yeah, all the color
specifically
lifted.
that one.
He thought he got away with that one. Then, when I come in, it's all shocked and shaken, and
Yeah.
he got arrested.
Did he?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Nice.
And I hated dealing with juvies. He was 17. I took him, and
Don't.
that was a lot of pain in the ass paperwork for basically nothing because in 4 hours they go home anyway. But it was worth the trip down.
You know what? I bet that restaurant
And
didn't
they
have
didn't give
another.
me French fries either.
What do you mean? They didn't give you a new one?
French fries. No.
Oh. Well, I think it kind of shook things up a little bit
Yeah,
by
probably
arresting the guy that
confusing.
probably made the fries.
Disrupted their business.
They're like, well, now we have no fries. Yeah. Well, that's a pretty good non-spit, but pube story. That's.
Yeah, so
Gross.
I'm sure I have eaten spit many a times in
Yeah.
my life throughout 27 years. I've had to go to some drive-thrus. I would suspect every time somebody spit in my fucking food.
As a police officer, yeah.
You know.
So I guess you're
he
okay
built
with
up
it.
an immunity.
Yeah. Yeah, that helped. Maybe it helped. Have you
I
had?
just licked my suspects, and you know,
Yeah.
I didn't get sick.
Mine, I wasn't the. I'm not the good guy in my story though.
Oh, you spitties.
Oh yeah,
Oh, you're-
I didn't. No, I didn't spit, but
Oh.
I
I need to-
deserved the spit. I think is what
Oh.
I'm trying to say. I was
You
the
Karen,
asshole in the
as they
drive-thru, which I'm never. I'm pretty much never this way. But this particular morning, I was in my early 20s, maybe 22, 23, and my dad's side of the family had a family reunion that they did every Christmas. I don't know if they still do it, but when I was younger, it was a thing, you know. And so we went down there, and it was my dad and my stepmom and myself, and we got a hotel. It was a really nice hotel, and it was the first time I'd been around my dad's side of the family that I was old enough to go out to the bar with my cousins and my one uncle who's closer to me in age than my dad.
Yeah.
And so he was super excited
gave
to
me
take
all
me
the
out
pornography
and get
and-
me hammered,
Yeah.
you know, and a couple of my other cousins too. And so I was like, okay, let's go, you know, see you, dad and stepmom. I'll come back to the hotel, maybe eat later. So we go out, got me super hammered. So I was like puking in a trash can, puked in the bushes.
Oh, it sounds
Handling
sounds
it
like a
well.
barrel of monkeys.
Stayed at my uncle Andy's house, and
Shaiden, act like you've been there before. No,
yeah,
I will not.
Yep.
Sorry, almost passed out.
and
I thought that was funny, and I almost passed out from my own humor. All right, go ahead.
so all that is a prelude to the drive-through story, because in the next morning I had to get back to this hotel at a reasonable time, get showered and cleaned up and ready to go to the actual family reunion, which I was hungover for the entire
So you're
thing.
explaining why basically you were a
Why I
dick.
was a dick. Still not a good excuse, but this is why, right? So I'm so hungover, I called my dad. I said, Dad, can you come get me from Andy's and bring me back to the hotel so I can like get a shower?
Yeah,
And
try and be a person.
my dad was a champ about it, honestly. I like expected him to give me a lot of shit about it, and he didn't, and he just came and picked me up. Like, he wasn't super thrilled, but he was just like in the car. He's like, "Are you hungover?" I'm like, "I'm so hungover." I couldn't even look out the window because the motion made me want to puke. I had to like stare at the same spot on the floor of the car. So I was like, "Dad, Taco Bell. I need some greasy food. Pull in this Taco Bell." And he's like, "Okay." So he pulls into the drive-thru. We get up there. He goes, "What do you want?" I said, I want a beef quesadilla." He's like, "Okay." So we get up to the window and he's driving, so he's ordering. He's like, can I get one beef quesadilla? And she goes, "Oh, we don't have beef." And I'm like,
Well, the beef place, though.
I'm barely hanging on to life, and all I can think about is this quesadilla, and I'm thinking, "What do you mean?" And I said, so I lean across my dad. I'm like, "What do you have?" And she goes, "Chicken or steak?" I lean further across my dad, and I'm like, "Is your steak not made from beef?" And he shoves me back into
like,
my
"Shut
seat.
up."
He's like, "Quit it." He's like, "Sorry, yeah, he wants a steak one."
She's like, "Oh yeah, that is beef."
Like, as soon as it left my mouth, I was like, "Here it comes."
And
Here comes the spit.
Possibly. That would probably do it.
I felt it was a valid question, though. I was Taco Bell. It might not have been made from beef.
It probably, a percentage of it was made by beef, but only a small percentage. Yeah.
So that was the day I probably got my food spit in.
That's not so bad, though. That's pretty good. You weren't the worst guy. I've seen some people throw shit at
Well, you would be
people.
the expert, I guess, given what you told us about your mom. So.
That's soft. That's what. Yeah, very much so.
Didn't even tip the Richter scale today.
I don't think you've eaten a lot of spit. I think you've been
Okay,
a fine
great.
gentleman.
Perfect.
I think he's been a fine
I've
gentleman.
been trying hard to avoid spit.
You were probably a fine gentleman too, but you were driving the wrong car, wearing the wrong shit.
I was representing the wrong thing, apparently.
I hope I haven't had my food spit in since my mom's not been part of my fast food process, because I'm like, "Oh, hello, hi, I know you can hear me. I like these 3 things. I practiced it 4 times in the car before I got here, so that you know exactly. I'll have my change ready for it. It'll be perfect change, or the card." And it's just like,
I'll even go as far
Fuck
as
this
throw
guy.
it. I can't even see them, but I'll throw in compliments. Let them know they look good that day.
fucking I.
They don't even realize they don't.
Yeah. I'd be
I
like,
always ask him
"Hey,
how
you're
they're
looking
doing,
sharp
and
today."
I pay attention. I try to talk to him a little bit, like, "Hey,
Yeah.
like, how you doing? What's going on? What are you
For sure.
doing all right in there? It's hot."
Right. I've had a few people with like, "Thank you for asking that."
Yeah,
like,
I know.
legit. Nobody's been nice
Like,
to me
they start
for
crying.
12 hours. Yeah. It's like, this has just been a lot
Honestly,
of
I
That's
can't
so
think,
sad.
disheartening human.
I can't think of the last time I was in a drive-through. I mean, years.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
I mean,
Yeah, you're not.
Months.
You've been
Over
meal planner
2
for a
years.
long, yeah. You
Over
did good
2
job.
years.
It's been a while for me too, actually.
doesn't mean I
which
don't
is-
eat shitty sometimes. I just don't eat fast food.
Yeah. I don't eat fast food either. All right, that's enough with the food tampering. I do want to talk about the 5 Fs. That's been something that's always kind of fascinated me with, we all know fight or flight.
Yep.
And freeze is obviously, I think that's what most people do is freeze.
Right.
in-
Otherwise,
in
it would be
adversity.
known as code black.
Code black, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you're the one that taught me the other 2.
The feed and fuck.
Feed and fuck.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being like, "Holy shit, that guy's shooting people. I'm hungry. I need a sandwich."
Watch monkeys. What do they
Yeah,
do when
but
they get
you're
all
right.
stressed out? They
Yeah.
start fucking each other.
Or eating a banana or
Or
something.
people. I mean, you know.
So
Okay.
feed
You get stressed out, you go
is-
jerk off, right?
If the plane's going down, I'm pulling my dick out. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean-
I'll be like taking a poll. I'm like, anybody else who wants to?
Right.
You? Last chance. I'm just saying, last chance.
I was thinking
So
about-
is feed like stirring the pot?
No,
I'm trying to guess what it
overeating,
is.
stress responses.
Okay.
Feeding,
I
eating
see.
too much.
Okay.
Animals will do it. People obviously do it.
But not in like that, oh God, a volcano just went off.
not necessarily
Because
in a,
like
in an
fight or
argument.
flight is like
Depends on
your
what kind of
reaction
food's
to-
around. You
It's
know?
still a stress.
If
It's still a stress.
cheesecake, I'm eating the cheesecake right away.
Before I die, I need all the cheesecake in my gullet.
I'll just take some to go while I look for somebody to fuck.
Fuck me through the cheesecake. No.
Come on, I got
No.
cheesecake. Ah.
It's our last moments. Don't have a fucking standards. You don't need standards. All right.
But in general, I mean, those are the top stress
Okay.
responses. I mean, so yeah, some of those are immediate, some of those are not. I mean,
So when you're
fight,
really
flight, and
stressed out, do you
freeze
just
are.
jerk off? Is that a thing that
Well, who you
that
don't?
must? I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I guess
sometimes,
so.
sometimes, yeah. I mean, that would be a response.
Where can you just like, fuck this, I'll be right back.
I mean, think about.
I'm not gonna lie, I've definitely circumvented like a high level of anxiety. Like if I'm like feeling like I'm so anxious I might like have a panic attack or something, I've definitely like if I'm at home all by myself, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll just jerk off. It'll
This is
distract
pretty
me and
good.
it's
Just go shadow box, you're good to go.
Shadowboxing again.
Yeah,
You should call that shadow boxing, no matter, even if you're not prepping, you know, you're prepping for some time
Yeah.
eventually.
Shadow boxing.
Shadow boxing. You need to put that on a shirt.
That's another shirt. Yeah, for sure.
Shadow boxing champion.
Well, I don't know how much there is. Every year,
Make it like a gym shirt, like EST, 2000.
Yep.
2022.
Yeah.
With an address.
Shadow boxing champion. I like that.
Continual,
Let's make it
perpetual.
gray and make it like
Yeah. Like a
the old gym
like a gym
shirt.
shirt.
That's a good shirt.
Done. Absolutely done. Okay, well, there's not too much to the 5Fs, but it is kind of an interesting idea.
I mean,
too.
those are they're the 5 basic instincts that are ingrained into you and the animal of you, and there's no way that society is going to get rid of any of those things.
Yeah, they're just you can't even prepare yourself. Like the times when you fight, sometimes another situation you're gonna freeze or you'll fuck something. I guess I don't know about.
I
that.
mean,
It's
it's-
interesting, actually. I distinctly remember feeling really weird about myself because I had somebody really close to me.
'Cause I shadowboxed and got beat.
shadowboxed and they
beat my own ass.
I beat my own ass. No, somebody really close to me died, and like the day that I found out they died, I like went and had sex just because of that. Like I didn't really care about going to it wasn't for going to have sex. I just was like, I gotta go do that because that's apparently how I'm gonna cope with this right now. And I remember feeling super weird about it afterwards. Like, why was that my go-to? Like, what a weird thing. Like, I was just trying to picture like if I had died and like somebody close to me was like, I'm gonna go fuck somebody else. You know? I'd be like, what? That's your go? What?
That doesn't make any
What are you
sense to
doing?
me. Yeah.
But I read about it, and I guess it's more common than I thought, and it kind
think
of
it
falls
is.
into the whole the F's that you're talking about. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
I think it makes
You do
sense.
some weird shit when you're stressed out.
Well, you want extreme chemicals to fight the extreme chemicals. I think.
that's probably more what it is.
Yeah, and that's why we get inebriated too, because it's synthetic fucking extreme chemicals, I guess, or it causes the extreme chemicals.
Right.
Interesting. All right. Well, how about we talk about festivals? I know that we've all been to a festival. This kind of came from our discussion where we just kind of realized how gross it is after a festival, and I think that's. I put festivals on, and so I remember, but there's nothing terribly gross that I have other than what I said last time, which was cigarette butts for miles and miles and miles. But putting on an event is kind of weird in that sense too, because you're dealing with, like I did Spokane Hempfest for a few years, and we were dealing with volunteers, and a lot of them were some of the loveliest people in the world, but we weren't like vetting them, and so even our volunteers were kind of gross as far as doing gross shit at our event and leaving nasty shit behind. But again, as a smoker, I feel like I'm among the worst, because if there's not an immediate ashtray around you and you decided to smoke, you're like, I'm a piece of shit. I'm not putting it in my pocket. What am I going to walk around like a fucking...
I don't want to smell like cigarettes.
Exactly. I'll let a squirrel die or whatever. I'll let a bird eat this thing.
Well, festivals in general, I mean, it's just that amount of people together is gross. I mean, we are filthy animals.
Well, we all have to poop somewhere.
I mean, there's the
We all
whole
have-
camping areas where everybody's getting drunk and puking and falling down, and you know, then
And nobody
porta
cleans their
potties.
puke up after themselves.
Oh.
Not one of us.
But
has
then you
ever
get
done
into the festival and nobody's got shirts on, and you're touching it, and you're just, I mean, everybody just stinks to high hell.
Yeah.
And then it's slippery and gross.
If
And
you want to
do that
boost your
anyway.
immune system, go to some
but yet-
sweaty summer outdoor rock
Yeah.
concerts.
but
man.
yet
Yeah.
they're fun to go to.
Yeah, they are.
It's just, but if you sit there and look at that, I guess that's why you stay hammered the whole
the
time.
price
so
you
you try
pay,
not to focus on
man.
that.
So okay, I got a story. I got an actual story.
Okay.
So I went to Rock on the Range in Ohio years ago, which is a massive. They take a soccer stadium, like a really big, I think it's a pro soccer stadium. I don't know what pro soccer is like in the United States,
Yeah.
but it's a big stadium.
It fits in the Chuck E.
And
Cheese,
they
actually.
put like several fringe stages that are set up on the outside of this thing that are also full production stages.
Nice.
So
So it's
I
like
think it
a
was like
Ozfest
10,
kind of thing,
10
right?
11,000 people all packed in there at one point. but it was Slayer was headlining this particular night, and you go to a concert, there's usually like, a mosh pit area with like a big circle pit near the front. This was that, but there was a circle pit in front of the stage. There was another circle pit over here in this part of the stadium floor. There was another circle pit. There was like several circle pits orbiting one another.
Awesome.
That many people. It was cool. It was really cool.
Dangerous, but fun.
But I decided that I had to take a dump and that it would not wait. And so
more poo ball from the poo ball.
More poo buying. And so I was like to my gang, I was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'll try and find you. Just stay in this area, So I weave through, survived 2 circle pits on the way out, and they had these trailers that they pulled in, right? But they got like the guys were pee troughs, and then there
honey
was
bucket trailers,
a few stalls for doing your business. And it was the last show of the night in the middle of the summer, and this trailer had been through some
just thinking about that makes me
shit.
gag.
And there was no light that was functioning inside of this trailer either, so it was like walking into the worst haunted house.
It's hot, right?
And it's hot still, yes. And the whole
tell me
trailer
you
is
went in there,
metal.
you sat down and you shadow boxed.
Reach down into the
I was like, I've never been so aroused.
That's a sign of a true man right there.
That was
You
when
can
I
handle
found my
that
point
stench.
7.
I am no longer a man. I tap
He
out.
realizes he's sitting in his 2.7 and just boxes
goes
the
for
shit out of himself.
He's got Eye of the Tiger on in his head, just rising up.
Just like going to the beat. crank.
People knocking on the door like, is everything? Nothing's okay in there. Nothing's okay in there.
Eye of the Tiger, man.
2.7, bro.
I'm going Super Saiyan. So,
And I'm raw dogging it.
and that's how it became the shadowboxing champion.
That's right.
So I get into this trailer. It's a horror show. I have to shit. So I've come this far. I have to figure this out. So I grab a stall when it comes open, and I'm in there, and there's just liquid and suspicious shit all over everything.
He's so shadow boxed.
So I dropped
He's like
trow.
getting turned on about this now.
I dropped trow, and I did the squat and hover because I didn't want to touch any of the.
Right.
But I had to get it done, so I'm like, just pretend you're in the woods, man. Just squat and drop.
Dude, you got to get that down by your ankles, though. You can't suspend. You're going to shit in your pants.
No, I do it right around the knees, man.
You figured it out.
So I'm squatting. I drop it. And I'm like, all right, all I got to do is wipe them out of here. I reach over to the roll of toilet paper and I touch it, and it is completely soaked. It was one of those like plap.
Nothing could
And I'm
be
still
good.
hovering. My legs are quivering because I'm like trying to hold this position. I've got piss on my hand now. So I hear a guy in the stall next to me, and they're metal stalls, right? So I give it one, bang, bang, bang. And he's like, what? And I was like, you got toilet paper over there? He goes, yeah. I was like, toss some over to me under the stall. Mine's all pissed on. He's like, fuck. I'm like, I know, man, help me out. So this stranger's hand reaches under with a fat wad of toilet paper.
You're like,
I was like, thanks, bro. Hope your hands weren't gnarly.
I don't trust you, but I trust you more than this pissed out.
Fucking wiped as best I could. Shadowbox, got the fuck out.
That last part came on pretty fast there. I like that. Well done. Well done.
Didn't let anybody else do it. Take the noose off my neck, and I left.
Yeah, that was a
Oh, which
harrowing-
reminds
that was
me,
a harrowing
PSA.
experience.
Yeah. What's
If
that?
you're into autoerotic asphyxiation,
I'm not.
okay, you need to have a spotter.
Right.
Just a little PSA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make sure you got to have somebody there to kind of make sure that you didn't use
What do
too
you
much
mean?
weight.
I have a safe word.
No, your safe word doesn't do your shit by yourself, bro.
Oh, let go.
What if my safe word is
Then you're really fucked. Actually, no, you're constantly doing that.
Yeah.
So somebody should be there, but
Exactly.
nobody's there to help you.
But then you don't get the asphyxiation
cat.
for very long, I guess.
No. That doesn't seem that appealing to me. What do you got?
I had a call.
Okay.
I had a call.
Is it erotic? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The guy would hang himself with panties over his face, women's panties over his face. And he'd step.
Did he wear it like a mask? Like a
Yes, he did. He wore
a
like
luchador.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
like
my
he was
God.
wrestling. And what's funny is he would have long johns on, but his dick would be out, and he'd be filming himself, and he'd step off a stool and jerk off, and then he would watch that video and jerk off to him going through that process. And then one time he stepped off the stool and he didn't get his foot back up quite
That's a
in
porn
time.
thing, isn't it? He
And he
watched
died.
too much porn. I take it back. Porn's not good for you.
Right? They didn't learn that from fucking
was,
just winging it.
Of his 2.7, that was his number one. I'm sure.
Yeah. Well,
It was 1.5 of them.
it was.
So, which is like, why to say, it's like, okay, you're into it. That's you. That's cool. Have a spotter, please.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
creates a lot of work for me.
So you got called for what?
Welfare
purpose?
check on somebody who couldn't be reached for a couple days.
And that's
Oh, was he dead?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
he was
okay,
dead. Yeah.
it. Did not make it through there.
No, we just opened it up and he was like in a river of his own semen and just
having a
hadn't
good old
eaten in
time.
days, and he was like, "Whoa!"
Hey guys, how's it been? Oh, the phone's ringing. Oh, I didn't hear it.
Yeah,
I
no,
was
he
too
was-
busy.
It was a spooky ghost.
I have a lot
Ectoplasm.
of peanut butter in my ears right now. Don't ask me why.
This is called learning from others' mistakes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, God bless you if you have that. If you really like autoerotic asphyxiation, because that is kind of living on the edge constantly. We've
Yeah.
lost like several rock stars.
That
And
kind of shit makes me feel so vanilla, dude. Like
I know.
like, people are like, "I'm into feet." I'm like, "Ugh."
exactly. They're like, "Do you want me to take it?" It's like, just turn the lights off and just whatever. No, I don't know. Yeah, I'm conservative.
I just
You
have
heard
a
it
spotter.
here. Zach's a conservative.
I guess when it comes to that, compared to some of the things that people are into, for sure, I don't even think I have 2.7 fetishes. I don't even think that's me. I think I'm good with just the normal stuff that
He
includes.
gave away 1.7 of his fetishes to charity.
I
Tell
did.
me what. Tell me
I
what
give
your.
them to you.
Tell me what
you
your
get-
Pornhub searches are, and I'll tell you what your fetish is.
Okay, then that'll be for another show for sure.
Edit.
Jack don't want to put things out like this. All right, I think our festival stories. I mean, you've been to the Gorge, and that's where you've seen a lot of the camping and stuff like
Yeah,
that. And some of
hippies are
the-
dirty.
Yeah. I would say.
Porta potties at the gorge in the summertime, man. That is also quite gnarly.
Ugh, yeah.
Well, being part of the cleanup crew of a hippie festival, it was. But I'd like to know what the barter fairs are like when they build a city for a week or two, and see what the cleanup is
I
like.
want to see what their haul on confiscated drugs and paraphernalia are, because they went. So in Salmo, where I grew up, Shambhala, which is a huge like rave festival, people come from all over the world to go to the mountains 10 minutes up the road from my hometown
Fun.
to go to this huge rave once a year. It's right around my birthday, but every year it was like a fun, heavy air quotes thing that the RCMP would do for like the locals. They would pile up all of the drugs and paraphernalia that they confiscated from that were related to the festival and put them on a big table
And let the children pick their favorite
and
drugs.
see, like, yeah, we're having a party. You know?
You get the Quaaludes.
No,
We
they
haven't
just take a
seen these
picture
for
of
years.
it and like spread it around town. Like, look at our haul this year.
Oh my God.
It's like a fold-up table that's literally overflowing with like knives and needles and drugs and tabs of this. And
I don't see a problem with this.
yeah,
What's that? All
He's
those things
talking
being
about-
there?
No,
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
nobody.
fine.
It sounded like nobody got hurt, so people can have drugs and knives and guns. As far as in my world, they can. That's fine. But,
Let's all live in Zach's world.
yeah. You guys want all your drugs and guns and knives taken from you? Come on, you're just going to have a party, and sometimes you need to stab a guy when you're high on drugs.
being the confiscator, again, another cop story, but early on in my career, back when copping was fun and cool and
Right
it seemed normal.
out there, copping.
Yeah, I mean, we'd confiscate beer from juveniles all the time, and we didn't really have a policy or procedure what to do with it, so we'd store it in this particular storage area in the
shotgun
department.
it all right in front of you, right
And
now
every,
and then.
and every- well,
You drink the whole thing.
so and every Friday we started having on our Fridays, our platoon, we would go out in the parking lot and somebody would bring a barbecue and we'd do barbecue and drink beer like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Hell yeah.
We did this for 2 years, and then we got a new mayor, and he's like, you can't do that. We're like,
Why?
Why not? Nobody's drinking it.
Go to waste.
So yeah, and then we kind of find out, we're not supposed to do that shit. It was a small department that I work for.
I think they look at that as like, dude,
The
you're
SOP
kind of rubbing
was-
it in their faces. You took their shit.
Well, the SOP was written in like 1971.
Fair.
So things have changed since then. But yeah, it seemed reasonable at the time until we were told that we couldn't.
Until we started doing it with the cocaine. And then they got a
really
problem.
They were like, where do you draw the line, guys? We see the beer. That's probably not okay.
I remember
but-
coming to Spokane. They're like, "Did you field test it?" I'm like, "Yeah, it tastes like cocaine." They're like, "What?" Like, like I came from a small department. We didn't have field test kits.
We learned from watching the movies. Come on.
By the way, I'm good for OT. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. Put me in now, coach, because I am fucking ready. All right.
Taste it for heroin. Smells like vinegar, man. It's good.
We'll have to delve more into your world for sure as we go on with this show. That's enough of the festival stuff, I think. They get nasty.
Ew.
Let's talk Reasonableist Party. This was something that you and I kind of came up with, and we've all talked about, where it's like, fuck, these parties suck in America.
Yeah.
And it's because they don't do anything reasonable at all. They're not interested in truth. They're not interested in making sense or really fulfilling promises. It's dumb in this country, and I think everyone can recognize that it's pretty dumb.
Yeah.
And so we're like, well, what kind of party would you join? And it's like, none of them. I mean, I'm not even a member of the Libertarian Party because libertarians don't hang out together. No. The whole rule is like, we stick apart. That's what we do. We stay away from each other. But a Reasonablist Party.
Yeah.
You want to
Literally to just do what's reasonable. Put in a
that's
reasonable.
that's subjective, though.
Yeah, who
That's a
decides
problem.
what's reasonable?
Fair enough.
That's why we didn't make shirts and stickers and try and find a guy to run for
The
president.
Grand Wank Bod decides, obviously.
Right, exactly. It's reasonable because I say so.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
The best shadow boxer amongst us shall lead the tribe.
if everybody.
It's only reasonable.
So much training would be going on for
Listen,
that.
if
It's
the world would just
constant
listen
training
to me
for
and
that.
do the things I think they should do, this place would be incredible.
You were just talking about that.
Weird.
If I was in charge,
I feel the same way.
if I was in charge,
If I
then
was
it'd
in
be
charge,
better.
it would be amazing. No, I don't want to be in charge. I just want people to do the right shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem is reasonable is subjective, although it seems to be the more that is deemed reasonable, the more strife people are in these days.
Well, let's let these listeners in. Let's build a party. The Reasonableists. Let's make the perfect political party for a broken, immoral system that is government. But what's the thing that we can tolerate the best? It's like, I want to mix the freedom of the market and the accountability of the market with science. And when it comes to where we have to use the government for like central planning or whatever, it's got to be based on like a lot of peer-reviewed data that we can all see, transparent science. Even if we aren't scientifically literate,
even if we want to do something
presented to me.
Then by nature, it would have to be subject to change all the time.
Yes.
And constantly trying to
That sounds
disprove
okay.
itself, which
That sounds lovely.
good to me.
Well, how
Yeah,
about
I mean
this?
the Republicans and the Democrats are certainly not trying to disprove themselves for a second. So I think we win automatically with this party. It's like, hey, then we changed our minds. Okay.
And how about a government that says, hey, we want to go this direction. Oh, guess what? This direction isn't working, so we're going to try something different.
Right.
And be honest about it. Say, oh, you know what? We thought this was going to work, but obviously it's not. Our numbers and data and science is showing that this doesn't work, so we're going to change course.
Imagine if we did that in the midst of the drug war, instead of going for 60 years with it or whatever, or any other of the programs that they've thrown at us for decades that haven't worked at all.
I mean, I have a whole great idea for the welfare system. A lot of people think I'm anti-welfare, and I'm totally not.
Right.
But watching what it does to people,
It needs to be done differently.
it needs to be
perhaps.
done differently, because it forces people to be on the system, because as they improve, they lose and then they have to make choices. Say, okay, well, so now I have a job, so I lose money. Now I got to pay for data. So they have to make decisions between a job and kids, or do I just stay on the system and get free money because I can take care of my kids this way? So,
Right.
I mean,
and you don't blame. I don't blame
make it
people for-
reasonable. Be reasonable to people. Have reasonable expectations of them. In the program to follow a program, but also be reasonable and help them get ahead.
Right.
If they
don't
follow
punish
that program-
them for
yeah, don't
following the
punish them.
program and then succeeding at it. Yeah.
Don't punish them for improving. Reward them for improving, because you want to get them on their own.
Right.
So what does that look like? Say they get a job, but their income doesn't quite match up to where they would have been on the welfare threshold? Do they still get some supplemental support for a while until they're able to build further? Or?
What I would do is probably a 5-year program. The way I look at it is like this. No, myself, I was fortunate enough to have a father that in a time of need as an adult. He actually asked me to come live with him for a while. He was going through some stuff, and it worked out on a short-term basis. But I had a parent available to me to kind of help me get my shit squared away. He had expectations of me at the house. I did those expectations. He helped me out some financially. It was a deal, right? Mm-hmm. Some people don't have family to do that, so essentially the government becomes their daddy in a nutshell. So why wouldn't the government say, okay, you have 5 years. We're going to give you X amount of money. I think it should be more than what they're going to get. It's going to cover your food. It's going to cover your gas. It's going to cover your daycare. Here's a phone. We want to set you up, but you have to be in school or you have to be working. And you have a 5-year plan. You have 5 years that you're going to get this amount. It's not going to go any less. And as you go through your life and improve, get your education or increase in your jobs while these other things are handled, we're not going to take away those assets from you. We're going to let you get on your feet. At the end of 5 years,
maybe even save some of it, right?
In the long run, initially it would cost more, but in the long run it would save because you would ultimately have less people on welfare.
Well, I mean, the individual would actually be like, oh, I could put some of this away.
Right, yeah. Instead of
smart with
having making choices of what they're going to do in their life. Do I
eat? Do I have cable? Do I
want to depend on the government or take this job? If I take this job, I can't be with my kids, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what happens when you get to the end of the 5 years? So fall flat on your face, and you're back to
you get 1 year. You get a 1 year evaluation, and where you have your case. It's better case management too, and case managers, where they would your goal was to be here. You're here. You have a year to get to this level, but then we cut you off. So it's more money for up to 6 years. But it's really.
So are you cut off indefinitely after that?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it would be leveraged to enhance people to actually take care of themselves.
What happens when they don't? That's the thing. Then we have another program for that kind of thing.
No, I'm going to say no.
But
that's where
we become Soylent Green and we eat you.
It is kind of one of those things though, where if the potential consequence is severe enough, far fewer people will actually get to that point.
Right.
I think, that's why we don't all run around killing the people we want to kill.
You have to have cutoff limits.
The consequence is really fucking severe if you actually do it. Yeah. So
I mean, in life, we all have cutoff.
Don't.
We all have life cutoff consequences, right? I mean, enough is enough. I'm fucking done.
Right. But literally, we have to watch a person say, "Okay, you're done," and it's like, "Well, no, I don't." Okay, now I'm getting kicked out of my house. Okay, now I don't have any food.
Well, after 6 years, you should probably get your shit together. I mean, in all honesty, and yes, it would be case by case, and there's stipulations through in that. And no, I haven't sat and thought about all.
I bet if we sat and thought about it, we could come up with another program that came up afterwards and central plan that shit.
But at some point,
take money from people. No.
At some point, there needs to be self accountability and not total dependence on the government.
I agree.
For able-bodied people.
Yes.
That's what I'm
I look at it as a kind of libertarian-ish person, but as an anarchist, regardless of whatever system you're involved in, your society should be judged on how, I don't want to say the least amongst us, but the least privileged, the least well-off financially or whatever it is, how they are treated is how, I can't remember if it's Marcus Aurelius or whoever it was that said that. That's like, we should, most libertarians are really good about charity. Like I consider charities to be localized versions of what government's trying to do, and they usually do a better job. They usually spend less money and get more money to works going and whatnot. So I don't know. But let's go back to the Reasonableist Party. Like, what's the platform? What's the, like, how would you feel about foreign policy? What should, if we were the United States Reasonableist Party, would we go off to war, or would we? Only
if it was reasonable. That's the whole point.
So it would be it would be a defensive war kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We would not attack other people.
But would there be cases where it would be a defensive war in defense of someone else?
Yeah. Is it reasonable for us to be the big brother all the time or not?
Right. Is it reasonable for us to say, okay, we're not the big brother anymore, and allow a power vacuum to just whoever wants it? Who knows? Because that's where we're in the world. As the United States polices the world or whatever. If we remove ourselves from policing the world and our 900 military bases around the world, who fills that power vacuum? We know China will, because they're already kind of doing that anyway.
Yeah, they're already.
But I wonder, because I've always thought that in my life. I'm not against war 100%, but I'm pretty much like, it seems like a waste to send 18-year-olds to go kill other 18-year-olds for.
I'd like to believe that there's reasons for it because so many wars have happened, but the reality is At what point are you so far apart where you can't have a conversation, then you're yelling, and the next thing you're launching objects and killing each other? How do we get there?
Right.
You know?
It makes more sense in the past.
At this point in human society, like at one point, there was some utility to war amongst humanity. I think, like, not that it was ever like, "Ooh, fuck yeah, war, that's the best," you know. But it's
figuring
like,
out the lines in the sand.
Yeah, it's like we were still establishing. We were in early phases. You know, phase 1, phase 2. Maybe even phase 3, let's call it, right? But I feel like now we're on into a lot of the parts of the world are into phase 4, phase 5, creeping up into phase 6. And war at this point is really only serving the purpose of actual lives being spent in pissing matches between the oligarchy of the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
we're still playing their stupid ass games, but most of us are in chat rooms with each
we're-
other with people around the world. Like, I hope you don't get bombed. I don't think no one should bomb you. You're my buddy. I don't know.
Yeah,
The
well,
world's small.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's all games that are being played by the minority that have a lot of power, and they're just spending lives in the bargain, and that's what war is at this point, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of that's probably going to go away in the next couple of decades, you know. Like, I think that warfare is not going to be shooting guns and bombs at each other.
No.
Like, we're already moving away from that.
For sure. It seems like a lot of cyber war stuff and drones and robots and shit.
Well, and psychological warfare. Like, it's just, you know, if you can wage war without shooting a bullet and win over all the minds of your enemy, or enough of them that they collapse, then easy peasy.
Propaganda wars.
Yeah.
We're in that probably.
Yeah, we're in the middle of that right now, I would
I
say.
think they call that 4th and 5th generational warfare. So I mean, to that token, to get back to the Reasonableist Party, I think that essentially it was a kind of a tongue-in-cheek answer, but I agree with you, Jeff, where it's like, if it's reasonable for us to, like, so let's consider, like, would it be reasonable for us to just go, oh, we're pulling out of everything, we're not gonna, you know, we're not doing the police the world thing anymore. I think that would be irrational and therefore not reasonable to do that. But
although we could just march right home.
I think going and doubling down on it and having our hands in everybody's cookie jar is not reasonable either.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so looking for long-term options to perhaps pull out of those in a structured way, you know, not all of them, but like the ones that really don't make sense, just start, you know, replacing that with other systems and go, okay, we're out of that now, and actually get the fuck out of it.
Well, we could certainly probably be out of Japan and South Korea and Germany, since they don't seem to be. Although we should keep our eye on Germany. I mean, it's all a matter of time before they're like, you know, it's time to do World War III. We've been waiting for many decades. We'll have to come back to the Reasonableist Party, and we'll just kind of make that a running thing, because we're trying to figure out what would a
party isn't built in one podcast.
That's right. That's right. And we've fleshed it out over the years, but we haven't talked about it for a while. I'd like to hear what would be the right what is there such thing as a right political party for
cutting
a
off
modern
hands for
country?
Stealing? Are we for that? That seems reasonable to me.
Oh, there comes that subjectivism again. God dang it! All right, but think about it. What kind of
The Reasonableist Party. What does that mean? Depends.
we really don't know.
We're going to be the best, most rational, most underfunded party that you've ever seen.
All
There will
15
not
of
be
us.
many of us. We are for things that most people do not like. All right, let's talk about sociopaths, shall we? This is your thing. You brought socialists. You've been studying empathy and sympathy over the last while now.
Yeah, it fascinates me.
Yeah.
It's a facet of human behavior that I find really intriguing. But
Samesies.
sociopaths, so you guys both know, but I came across one in real life that kind of held me hostage for a number of years.
Yeah.
Also was the one who was in the bed with me when I pooped, by the way.
What?
which is why
Oh,
I
no
don't
shit.
feel bad.
Yeah.
Oh, I would have done that on purpose.
Yeah, that's some karma and pre-karma.
Vindication.
Yeah.
I'm surprised it wasn't on her chest.
This was early before I figured it all out.
You should just in tribute to that. You should just find out where she lives and mail her a box of your own
here you
shit
go.
every once in a while.
I forgot to give you this.
Yeah, there you go. You should also do that to all the politicians you don't like. Just saying. Call to action.
Yeah,
Mail
that's
poop to
peaceful
people you
protest.
don't like. Yeah, absolutely.
Peaceful poo test.
I'm not a sociopath at all.
Love the grand poobah.
Yes.
I'm going to start solving all of my big problems in life by shitting.
Shitting in boxes and mailing them.
Let me shit on it for a minute.
I want to shit on
Be
it.
like the Unabomber, but only with poop.
You could get sophisticated with it, though, and have it like pop open and be like,
Yeah, like on a Jack in the Box.
yeah, la la la, and little things pop out. Fuck. So sociopath.
So sociopath.
Why not? Do you want?
I feel
do
like
you feel comfortable
I feel
telling
like-
that story about that?
Well, I mean, we don't have to. It would be a long ass story.
True.
But
Yeah.
I can give some really Reader's Digest stuff about it. But my point in bringing it up is that after going through that and analyzing it and talking to a bunch of people about it in the wake of it, I've realized that there's a lot more people that are actually sociopaths in the world than I thought there were. Like I thought it was kind of a niche thing in my younger years, and then I feel like there's more people than not that have run across. Like I'm sure that if you guys want to send us some emails if you've run across any actual sociopaths, and I'm not talking about like, oh, my ex keyed my car and like never apologized to me, so she's a psychopath. No. What did you do would be my first question.
And I think a lot of people get sociopathic behavior and narcissistic behavior confused
and psycho
and kind of tie them all together,
psychotic,
and really it just ends up that's the key phrase, that one of those two words is a key phrase they just use for somebody that
they don't like.
they don't like
disagreed
anymore.
with them,
Yeah.
Or they broke up with them or something.
It is one of those words like hate and that gets used improperly. It's like
And
it's supposed to be
misdefined,
a bit much more serious thing than the way that you make it out to be.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
But it's interesting because there's a lot of flavors of sociopathy, and I think a lot of people have sociopathic tendencies to some
Everybody
degree.
does.
Like myself included, I certainly do.
Of course.
I definitely do. Fuck all of you.
But there's how dare you? Maybe later.
One at a time.
So the one that I had the biggest run-in with was actually, and Zach, you're the one that actually set me down the road to read about this and figure out what her deal was. But she is a textbook narcissistic sociopath. And not in like I think I'm great, so I'm a narcissist. Like she used me for what's called
She was feeding you
narcissistic
off
supply.
of you, yeah, like a vampire.
Yeah, like she thought she saw, oh, you're an empathetic person. And I could tell based on our interactions and conversations.
I can
and
manipulate you
I
because
can
you
just
care
keep
about
you
things.
in my pocket and gaslight you to death so that you can keep feeding me with what I need, which is attention on me. And the whole show is about me, to the point where it's like, I mean, we're talking cutting me off from all of my friends for the most part, inserting herself into all of my artistic projects, taking over, trying to pay my bills, convincing me to quit my job so that I'm completely dependent upon her and her money, lying about a terminal illness that didn't even exist, cornering me into sleeping with her when I didn't want to even be in a relationship with her in the first place, and then faking a pregnancy. And then subsequently faking a whole abortion process that tore me the fuck apart,
right?
And then come to find out it was all just a fucking farce. Like, that's a sociopath.
That's a narcissistic sociopath.
That's and it was all because she had a need to be the center of someone's or multiple someone's universe. Like, it had to be this whole pageant, and it was the weirdest thing, man, because you'd call her out on it, on a piece of it, and be like, hey, I know unequivocally that what you're telling me right now is not true. And she was an expert at guiding the conversation into a corner that you couldn't immediately refute, so you had to retreat and go get more information, and then you come back later, and in that time she's already come up with a whole new web of bullshit that you had to wade through. It was
She knows how to get her
man.
food. She knows how to get her supply.
It was wild, man.
Yeah.
So
it was wild.
Yeah, well, I know, because both of you guys, you especially, Jeff, were kind of involved in it near the end.
I've only talked to her a few times, but I was just there for the
Jeff was actually a
lived
big reason that I was able to get out of it. Because that's why I ended up living with him, was because it was when you were over at my house and you were asking her a bunch of questions that I had like asked her, and she was getting all uncomfortable, and I was like, it was cool to watch it from the outside, because I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not fucking crazy. Like, he's smelling the same bullshit that I'm smelling, and so then we ended up talking a bunch behind the scenes. And
on that particular subject, I knew what I was talking about, and I knew quickly that she didn't.
Monique,
for
Monique
sure.
uncovered some shit too, I believe.
Yeah,
like,
she did.
in the midst of all that, because stuff that I wouldn't have caught, but Monique's smart like that. She's like, you would have, I think it was like the cancer thing that she said.
Yeah.
And there would be.
Oh, she was wild too. Like she was faking like radiation burns from getting radiation,
Goddamn.
and like,
I know
like
she had that taped on her chest
yeah,
for a long time.
Yeah. She faked breaking her arm one time right before one of my gigs so that she could, you remember that shit?
Dude. Info at, well, I actually just
Because you asked her to get something at
pod.
the store or something.
Yeah,
like that.
and she was like, "Oh, I instead of saying no, fuck you, I don't want to, I will just reasonably pretend to break my arm, actually go to a pharmacy and get a fucking wrap bandage."
Oh my
She's like,
God.
you could have just gone to the store. Would have taken a lot less effort, but you wouldn't have gotten the attention you wanted.
She wanted the attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, info at SKATCAST.com or justaridepod@gmail.com. We prefer that last one. Yeah, let us know about your sociopaths. Jeez.
What about you guys? You got any crazy sociopaths that stick out in your history that you've run across?
I do.
Yeah.
I've got a few. You have a few?
Yeah, well, I mean, I got a lot of ex-wives. So,
Doesn't count.
I
We're
mean,
just-
I
We were just talking about that. You can't just.
I don't think they all fall under sociopath
At least-
necessarily, but
I know one of
I think
them.
I can look at anybody, including myself, and pick out sociopathic or narcissistic behaviors because we all have them. Some people just have them much greater than the other, and some people don't have any empathy whatsoever, and they're not even good at feigning it. So,
True. How about, why don't we define it real quick? Sociopath. An adult who has a personality disorder marked by antisocial behavior. I need my glasses. Also, a person with an antisocial personality disorder exhibiting antisocial behavior that usually is the result of social and environmental factors in the person's early life. Or number 3, someone with a sociopathic personality, a person with an antisocial personality disorder. So all 3 of those are the same. None of them speak of empathy, but in my mind, it's always been a person that has the...
that's more psychopathic, is no empathy.
Well,
Really.
the way I look at it, and this is probably completely wrong, but empathy or sociopath is someone that has empathy, that has no empathy, but has some kind of like, I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to. They're better actors. A psychopath is somebody that's like, I don't give a fuck. Like I'll fucking kill you, and I don't give a fuck like a sociopath, but I also don't have the things that stop me from wanting to hurt you, kind of thing, or have less of it. Like narcissism is this weird flavor in between there where it kind of touches on all those things.
Which, I mean...
This is total gumshoe dipshit guy, so we can have a PhD tell us that we're wrong.
Look at most of social media. I mean, that Facebook is literally one of the most narcissistic things you can do. You have a page all about yourself, yet people talk about how narcissistic everybody is. Like that's on your fucking page. You recognize that, right?
Right.
I've had to point that out a few times. Well, I didn't have to do shit. I felt compelled to, which probably wasn't even the right thing, but it felt good at the time, and maybe I was wrong. But maybe it was narcissistic of me to do. But
We're all narcissistic.
Yeah.
You just said that. If
but
you
I
use
agree.
Facebook, you're a cunt.
All this shit works by degrees too, like you can be mildly narcissistic or you can be a full-blown narcissistic sociopath, like
and
there's levels of everything.
narcissistic at its basic root is attention for self, right? I mean, really, that's what it is. It's attention on yourself. And everybody likes to have some attention on themselves sometimes, particularly if it's positive.
Yeah.
I think society's changing now where that attention is now through victimhood. And unfortunately, people are building platforms off that, and there's a currency to it, and it's pretty gross.
I think this is
We're
just
gonna talk about that.
is just a theory of mine, and I'm also I'm just a self-educated what the hell do I know dude, but I feel like a lot of these flavors of mental illness do stem from
Drugs.
poorly shadowboxing. No,
Enough
poorly developed defense mechanisms. Or like something happened, or your brain wasn't adequately equipped to deal with some facet of life, and so rather than being able to develop a healthy coping mechanism for that, your brain just decided to wire itself in response to that in a way that is like, okay, well, if we don't care about it, we don't have to feel it. So we'll just shut that off. And then that's how we keep ourselves safe, or narcissism. You'd be like, well, I'm so afraid that people won't approve of me that I will just craft my entire existence to where everyone must approve of me because I'm the best. And so that's the way that I'm wired, because that's better than having to worry about people not approving of me at some point. Like, you're so terrified of that your brain wires itself in a way that just becomes not a possibility for you.
I wonder, you guys know what I think is oftentimes nature, because children can be sociopathic too. It says adult in the thing, but you can tell a little narcissistic sociopathic child too. Although most children are narcissistic on some level, because that's what they're doing. They're little scientific me things.
We all are by nature.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely. Until we're taught otherwise, basically.
Even not to not be narcissistic, really. It's a.
There's no way to stop.
You're going to be narcissistic, but you can hide it better because society expects you to.
Yeah.
But the reality is, we are all bundles of self-interest.
Right.
That's being honest.
Absolutely.
And
but we're not willing to sacrifice.
I'm the fucking best, dude.
I feel the same.
Real quick, kind of what you were explaining. Really, you're talking about like borderline personality disorder, not being equipped to deal with social stigmas of the world. People can be raised to not have the appropriate responses, and a lot of times that gets mistaken for bipolar disorder, actually.
Fascinating. Tell more, Jeeves.
I've got a couple. I found this when I was looking for the definition of sociopath. I thought of this too. 12 signs of a narcissist. This is some kind of medical thing, whatever, but a grandiose sense of self.
Check.
Yeah. Excessive need for admiration.
Check.
Superficial and exploitative relationships.
Ooh, check.
Need for control. Perfectionist becomes upset when things don't go their way. Lack of empathy. There's my little empathy and your empathy. Identity disturbance, which means sense of self is highly superficial, extremely rigid, often fragile, and easily threatened.
Ooh, check. Pause there. That reminds me. One of the things with my little sociopath, she went through this phase where she had been watching Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. You guys know this?
Yeah,
show?
absolutely.
Yeah. Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Jane Seymour.
And then she was sending me serious, like dead serious text messages as though she were a character in the show. She's like talking to me as though I'm supposed to be knowing about her interactions with these characters from the show. And I've seen the show. I know what, like, I'm like, I responded, I'm like, why are you talking like you're in Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman? And she's like, I couldn't expect you to care about the children. I'm like, what the fuck?
I've got to get the fuck out of here now. I
don't have a lock on my bedroom door.
All right.
Number 8.
This is number 7. Difficulty with attachment and dependency.
Check. Should I have that?
Yeah. Chronic feelings of emptiness and boredom. Number 9 is vulnerability to life transitions. So difficulty maintaining reality-based personal and professional goals over time. Feeling overwhelmed by compromises required by school, jobs, and relationships. Or may have failure to launch syndrome when young. Okay. And then number 10, lack of responsibility. Blames others for their faults. Number 11, lack of boundaries. Believes others think the same as they do. Feels shocked and insulted when they're told no.
I have that too.
Don't you dare tell me no. That's how I've ever done anything in my life, is like, I don't respect no. Except for with women, consensual, obviously.
6 no's and a yes means yes.
You gotta slap a woman every once in a while. Jesus.
Wisdom from Sean Connery.
Old heroes for beating ladies. Okay. And the last one is fear of rejection, which was what we kind of talked about. Afraid of being wrong or seen as a bad person or inadequate. Does not develop trust in the love of others.
Ooh.
Does not.
Oh, there you go. So
Nailed
everybody
it.
at any given time can probably fill up 6 of those within the moment of their life.
So is there
Exactly.
is there like a score on that list? Like, if you fill this, at least this number on this list, you might be a redneck or a sociopath.
Just say, let's see. How is narcissistic personality disorder diagnosed? No specific laboratory tests are needed to diagnose NPD. The diagnosis of NPD is made by a mental health professional, such as a psychiatrist, with the help of various guidelines available under the AGIS of the American. I'm too stupid to read. I can't see with my eyes. The psychiatrist takes the personal family history into account. And no,
so they blame it on your mother. And
it's random.
I'm going to preface this by saying sorry to any well-meaning and talented psychiatrists out there, but like psychologist, okay, psychiatrist, highly suspect to me from the get-go. It's just
Fair.
like, I don't know about like. The human brain is a really complicated thing that we haven't really figured out yet.
Yeah, well, at least they're trying. And they're standing on the shoulders of giants.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I know. When you hear clinical psychiatrists come out and say...
Clinical psychologists?
Oh, you're talking...
Psychiatrists. I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, psychology, I'm like, okay, I respect that. Because that's like a whole... That is the field of studying, the way that the human brain thinks. Mm-hmm. But, like, psychiatry is just like... Typically, tell me what you're feeling, and I'll guess what it is, and I'll probably get paid to give you prescriptions for it. Not always,
and that's always.
Well, you're right though.
That's always who touched you where, and all that weird shit.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about what it would be like to not be alive? You need antidepressants.
Right.
Cha-ching.
There does seem like there's a lot of over medication. I actually dated a girl who who worked for a doctor's office like that for years. And she was the one that told me, she's like, we've never had a single patient come through there that wasn't diagnosed with something and given a prescription for something. Not one.
They're incentivized to prescribe.
Yeah, but that's anecdotal, but a pretty good sample size.
Well, and, that happened in the 90s. That's why, Shaiden, your generation of people, they had a 400% increase in bipolar disorder diagnosis. Mm. And what was happening was parents were bringing their children, their young 10 to 12-year-old children at the doctor's office, and there's these pamphlets laying out in the waiting room, and they're filling out this questionnaire, all these pamphlets for a particular drug for bipolar, and then they take it into their doctor, and their doctor, their primary physician, who's just a general practitioner, really knows nothing about the brain, is like, oh, you checked all this, and oh, look at that. And parents always overdiagnose everything anyway. Well, your kid's bipolar. Here's some medication, and a 400% increase.
Mm-hmm. I'm keenly aware.
It's insane.
Yeah, I grew up with a mother who was misdiagnosed 6 ways to Sunday, and she was also kind of a hypochondriac, but she also had some legitimate things that were wrong with her, and she wouldn't trust she wouldn't trust any doctor for very long, so she would just kick him to the curb and go see another one, but she wouldn't kick all the shit that they prescribed her. And so then the next guy would be like, oh, no, you need this. And, oh, you're having side effects from that shit you're already on. We can't take you off of it right now, so we'll just prescribe stuff to deal with the side effects of that. And you're also crazy, so here's some antipsychotics. And she's just like, okay. And then to the point where she was taking so many pills she couldn't hold them all in one hand in a day.
Wow.
And I was just like, and I can't fault her entirely for it because she got screwed by the system for sure. But, I don't know. It's share the blame, I guess. But
putting faith in doctors, what our society does is somebody with a doctor tag,
what they say
right?
you're supposed to do. Yeah. Like, well, they're the professional. Well,
I want to trust science as much as I can, but human beings we're not science. We're just people trying to do our best.
The problem in all of our best systems.
Yeah, we are. We're coming up with the solutions, but they're not solutions. They're trade-offs. It's always trade-offs. God damn it. That's crazy. All right, we have one last thing before we get to our little quick things, the things I learned, fuck this, and advice we give to ourselves. But the last thing is books that changed our lives. I'd love to eventually do like a reading list kind of thing of books that have been important to me, but I have a few that I could talk about. But what about you guys?
Hell yeah. Playboy.
That's on the list. There were some great articles is why I wanted to put that one. You're not wrong. there was one of my favorite writers of all time used to edit Playboy, Robert Anton Wilson. It can't be too bad.
Well, I just kind of snagged 3 out of thin air. I have a lot that I could.
Right, a reading list would be a good one.
Yeah, but I guess I tried to pick 3 that were sort of in different directions. But one of the books that was super formative for me was it's called The World Beyond Your Head by Matthew Crawford. And it is literally really expository book about the way that the world is perceived by your mind and the way that shit functions in your mind and kind of some of the why of things tend to function that way from a psychological standpoint. And then it goes into effective ways to marry that with everything else that's going on outside of your head without turning it into a basket case.
I love it.
It's really
real shallow
written.
book.
It's kind of like it's sort of verbose sometimes. Like it's got a lot of big words in it.
Fair enough.
But if you can really sit down and give it your attention, it's a fucking great book. I've read it.
It's one of those where you got to read a few times,
Yeah,
and then you get.
And I don't often read books more than once. Like they have to be like
Same.
pretty meaty for me to want to go back and chew on them again.
I only have one. Yeah, I have the same kind of thing with one of my books on my list.
Yeah.
You got a couple more though.
So that's one. One that was totally in a different direction that I actually just had recommended to me a few years ago, or maybe 2 years ago, if that. It was called The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. And I tend to steer clear of like self-help, here's financial advice type of books, because I'm like, fuck off.
Right.
You know, like you're just trying to make money off of me not making money.
You've got a great grift going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this one was recommended to me by a guy that I worked with at Thrifty, who I really respected, and he said, you should check this out, and I was like, okay, well, since you said so, I'll give it a shot. Not a very long book, but completely changed the way that I think about finances and how to save money and effectively use money. And I mean, you guys know me personally. I'm in a way better place financially over the last couple of years than I've ever been in my life, and it's thanks in part to shit that this book put in my head.
Fair enough.
So
you've been real disciplined with yourself too.
So yeah, and it's not like a magic, like, here's how you fucking get rich, but it's like, if you want to effectively use your money and make it work for you, here's some shit to think about,
Shit.
And
Send me a copy. I'm not buying it, but
yeah,
let me borrow it.
sure, you betcha. It wouldn't be economically sound for me to buy the book about money.
I don't want to do that.
That's a waste of money.
Not worth investing in that myself.
But my last one's actually a series, and it's not like it's a fiction series, and it's actually like a young adults fiction series.
Yeah.
And it's not that the story is the best. I actually thought the story fell short, but the premise in it was so fucking fascinating to me that it's just stuck in my head.
Ooh.
Since I read it, it was recommended to me by my good friend Casey. But it's called the Scythe series, and it's basically set in like a somewhat utopian version of the future where AI and the cloud kind of married to become the Thunderhead, which was like it's like, this is the benevolent AI that takes care of the world.
The Thunderhead,
makes
I like
it
that.
so there's no need for government. There's no need for
I'm hooked.
all the systems. It just takes care of everything, and it has it to where and it also circumvented death, like, because it's like, oh, it has the supercomputing capability to figure out how to fix everything, so people don't have to die anymore.
Nice.
Right, which is wild. But then there was a system also put in place at the same time that was like, well, but people still have to die sometimes, so there's an organization that exists completely separate out of the Thunderhead's jurisdiction, and they're called Scythes, and they're these immortal people that go and they're like, hello, I'm here to tell you that you died today. And they're the people that decide who dies and
So
for
they're
what
like
reason.
the Grim Reaper, but
essentially.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
But it's like, it was a really interesting take on all of this whole, because usually if it's like an AI that takes over, it's like, kill all the humans, they're the problem. But this was like, no, we achieved harmony with AI. But here's the problems that continued to exist even in our utopian world.
That's
that
a great
turned out not
twist.
to be very utopian.
That's a
It's
great
like,
twist.
It was a great thought exercise. I thought it was.
Have they ever done any manga on it or a cartoon or anything or nothing?
No.
Shit, Hollywood's got to be looking to fuck that
And they
one up
could
at
have,
some
and
point.
Neil Schusterman, if you ever listen to my shitty podcast that you'll never ever listen to because you have a successful book series, you could have done more with the story, man.
Oh.
Like, I know it was for young adults, but you could have Harry Pottered that shit and spun it all the way up to adults and made it cool. There's a lot more you could have done, man.
But now authors are going to be like, well, I'll snag that since he didn't.
Now it lives in my imagination forever, though. So
Fucking A. I love books that'll do that.
Yeah.
Especially a fiction book where it's like somebody else's imagination is now a part of your imagination.
I've learned a lot of valuable shit from other people's fiction imaginings, man.
Same. I don't think I have one on my list. But Jeff, you got some books you want to share?
Yeah, I do. I'm not the fiction guy. I'm more
Right.
the self-help kind of guy or real story kind of guy. And recent books that I've read that I really liked where it was Unfuck Yourself. Everything has a curse word in it. That's pretty much why I like the book.
That's what you bought it for. It was like, well,
It's like, that one says
So
fuck on.
guy's
Unfuck
got
Yourself is actually funny because I actually listened to it audio first, and the guy speaks in a Scottish accent, so I couldn't read the book without hearing his voice.
Oh, right.
So that kind of fucked it up for me.
What,
No, I
buddy?
didn't like that, actually. It bothered me. And then another book that's called Everything is Fucked, and that's actually, it sounds super negative, but it's not a super positive book.
Nice.
And again, it's about being accountable and, understanding that You have to have stress in life. Stress is what makes you better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not the good things in life it's not the good when you're going through good things that you're actually learning anything or actually improving. It's generally when things are stressful and you feel like you're going against the current.
I always look at it like a sword. Like the sword is going to be beautiful. It's going to be what it's going to be, but it has to go through heat and pounding and shit. And that, yeah. I don't know why I said that.
So, you know, I mean, that's
be a sword.
Falls a lot into my philosophy of life, but I'd say the biggest one that had the most impact on me recently, and it was profound. I was doing, first off, the name of the book is called No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about this.
And I had been really working on myself hard for 2 years, you know, physically, mentally, and trying to get my life in a different position. Made some huge changes all at one time. Yeah, all at one time, which was, I mean, everything I was doing is I'm ready to change my life. That's what I worked on. But then that's when I got into this book, and it really answered a lot of questions as to why I handled mostly like personal relationships in my life. Some answers as to why I may have handled them and some of the thoughts that I had, and, you know, being the super nice guy and allowing people to kind of walk on you. And
perfect for a narcissist to suck off of you.
Yeah, and some of the things that I was doing to
vouch.
just taking that time to become selfish and work on myself was the best thing that I could have possibly done, because it helped me develop boundaries. And that's what this really was about. It was about developing boundaries, but understanding why you don't have any to begin with, and
that it's okay.
Reading through this book and thinking over my life, and then the things I've been working on over the last couple of years, it was kind of refreshing to know that I was on the right track. I was already doing all these things, and it was working. I was seeing that it was working. Now, that doesn't mean that all my problems went away. As I changed, more problems came, right? I mean, more stresses came. I was fixing things, but it still adds more stress and more obstacles that I have to get through to get to where I want to be. But
it's awesome to have a book that puts you into that mindset.
But yeah, it really puts you into a really good mindset. One that I suggest for anybody, particularly somebody from a broken home. That's kind of where a lot of that starts. And what most of America, I'd say, probably is.
Yeah, we pretty broke.
And it's scary. It's scary to stop and take a look at yourself. And some of the things the book was saying is like, I had to be really honest about myself. And
that's
some of that
huge.
Stuff. And it's like, wow, that's, you know, like something discussed hidden contracts with people. In relationships, you know, I will do for you, and then you know, then you'll be able to be in a position to do for me, and that doesn't come around, or they're not behaving or moving forward in the way that you expect. And then of course that starts causing resentments and things like that. And it was something that I was doing in my life that I didn't even recognize that I've been doing. So
that's huge.
It's like wow, okay, I can own that for sure.
Yeah,
and that's No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Happens a lot, man. That's like, it's one of the hardest things to learn as somebody who's honestly interested in people and potential, is how to invest without expectation of return.
It's a big deal.
Like where you're like, oh, I did this for you, so I'm expecting you to do this with it, or do this for me down the road, or whatever, or, you know, just make me proud even, you know. And it's just like,
shouldn't attach yourself to those kind of concepts.
It's like, if you're gonna do it, just do it and hope for the best, but don't expect it, you know. Like,
now the other thing that I find it took me a while to deal with in life, to learn how to deal with in life, is when somebody does like you for who you are and wants to be kind to you just because you are, and they do it for no purpose other than they think you're kind, and they give a shit about you. Not
a friend.
Not having that feeling that you have to outdo them or pay them back. It's just a genuine friendship.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's something, when you can recognize that you have that.
That's special.
It's special, but it also takes a little bit of learning how to deal with that as well.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
And then that gets way too much into my background for right now. So
we'll do season 2.
Yeah.
All about that.
Season 2 is when we're getting into the shit.
We get way deep into our. We'll have talked about all the surface
Patreon
things.
Stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll have a platform for the Reasonableist Party by then.
And a bird of some kind. Every platform needs a bird.
Some grandma in Wisconsin will have sent us $18 to help us with our campaign.
Thank you, Grandma, for the $18. I have a lot of books on my list, but I will just give you guys 4. One, actually, one of our listeners for SKATCAST listened to the Secret Suck where I brought this book up, and it made me think about it. It's called The Righteous Brain by Jonathan Haidt, and it's about good people. Why do good people do bad things, kind of thing, or why do they have different belief systems and hate each other? But it's a very good way of looking at moral priorities and how we have different moral priorities. I talk about that all the time, where I respect people that think differently than me because I know that they're not evil and they're bad, and even though they sound ridiculous, their moral priorities are different than mine. And if I know that, and I know what their priorities are, and this book kind of goes into that, it's very useful. It makes me feel like adults in the room when I was reading this, it's like, this is what adults should do. This is kind of what I thought. Another one is called The Believing Brain by Michael Shermer. And that book fucking...
Just reading all these brain books.
Well, this one,
zombie?
This one helped me get through the
What was
credulity.
it, The Believing Brain?
Believing Brain.
Believing Brain.
It talks about all sorts of interesting things, the patternicity of how we look at the world, kind of the chemical thing where we back in the day, just for real quick, when there was a tiger that could have eaten us at camp or whatever, we were on a high alert, and so the chemicals are up. And if it was the wind, it was the wind. But if you thought it was just the wind, like, it's not a tiger, don't worry about it, it's just the wind, and it was a tiger, your genes didn't go forward into the future. So a lot of us were looking at, like, it's a boogeyman.
It was
just
actually
in
Mark
case.
Zuckerberg. Still here, baby.
He's been there the whole time. He is the one constant. But it's the premise that we bring chemicals that we use as cavemen, and we kind of use those things to build superstitions and to believe in those superstitions. It's a really interesting look at the mind and credulity. The most crazy book I've ever read in my life is The Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. That one I don't recommend for anyone to read unless they really, really like politics and want to figure out why socialism and communism and all collectivism can go way out of hand. But that's about the Russian...
everybody should read it.
I don't know. It takes a lot. It's not a short book. It's not an easy book to digest. I had to combine listening to it and reading it just to fucking... I was depressed after reading it, to be honest, so I don't recommend it. But if you do read that, this is the book. The last one is absolutely the book to read, and it's the one when you said you read it a few times because it was worth it. This is that one.
Your rinse and repeater.
Yeah, his name's Robert Anton Wilson, and he's the Playboy editor. But he wrote a book called Quantum Psychology, and it is I had to read it many, many times just to understand the concepts in there. But it is a way to challenge your belief systems and make yourself better just by literally practicing certain tool type things, certain ways of looking at things. Very interesting writer. I mean, he's knowledgeable in 1,000 different things. He's an anarchist. He's a very interesting character. So Robert Anton Wilson, Quantum Psychology. He has another one that's even more popular that I also like a lot called Prometheus Rising. That's also one that I had to read many times to understand what the fuck he was talking about.
Shadowboxing, though. You can tell from the title.
Right. So will you give us a recap? What were your books again?
My books were The World Beyond Your Head by Matthew Crawford, The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins, and the Scythe series by Neil Shusterman. Okay.
And mine's The Believing Brain, Michael Shermer. The Righteous Brain, or Righteous Mind is what it's called, Jonathan Haidt. Gulag Archipelago by Solzhenitsyn, and Robert Anton Wilson's Quantum Psychology.
It's like an asterisk by Gulag.
Yeah, don't read that one. And it took me like months to get through it. It is a long ass.
That's a tough one. I have to admit, I didn't finish it. I tried tackling it years ago,
right?
And I got far enough to where I'm like, I felt like I got what I was going to get out of it. And I was like, I can't continue.
I can't take any more bottles up asses. And, but it's a lot of stuff. But then what's funny is after I read Gulag Archipelago, I went and worked for Dan, and we did the KGB suck.
And you lived the Gulag Archipelago.
Well, basically Dan taught me what a bottle up the ass felt like. And then he put ants in it, just like in Gulag Archipelago, chapter 90. But fuck. But it was a hell of a suck when I had to revisit that. And also that a lot of people, I didn't realize that there was controversy. People didn't believe. I mean, he's one of the greater writers of his generation, and he wrote a book that's true, and so he took some liberties, I guess some people were saying and stuff, and because I'm not Russian I didn't know, but it was fun to learn that there's quite a bit of pushback to it too. But as far as that book's concerned, that was like part of the world deciding, we shouldn't do this one party government thing because it turns out bad each time. And we just kind of forgot that because Gulag Archipelago is hard to read. And what were your books again, Jeff?
Let's see. It was.
I know. No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah, No More Mr. Nice
By Alice
Guy.
Cooper.
No, it's by Dr. Robert Glover. And Everything is Fucked is
By Fred Durst.
No, that's the follow-up. That's the subtle art of not giving
by
a
Alice Cooper.
the subtle art of not giving a fuck, which is written by Mark Manson. His follow-up book to that is Everything is Fucked. I just didn't think it was as good of a book. It's totally it was just a second book written. It wasn't really a follow-up to the book.
Okay.
So it just gets into
Well, if he listens to this, he's gonna be like, "Fuck you, Jeff.
different.
Write your own book."
Hey, I read it.
motherfucker."
Hey, no, I read it. I just it was different than the first one. I still liked it. And then Unfuck Yourself, and I can't remember who wrote that book.
Okay. Well, cool. So there's some books if you guys are interested in delving into some things. Now we got a few things left. Things I learned. And this one we're going to talk about AI art. And Shaiden has changed all of our lives in like 2 seconds by showing us this thing on Discord.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
This thing, I just discovered this yesterday morning, and I consider myself the foremost expert on it as of today because I have done nothing else with any of my free moments from yesterday until today.
No shit. Just making...
And I regret nothing. So I found this thing called Midjourney Bot. And it's a group of, I think, 10. I'll pull up their website while I'm running my face here. But it's 10 sort of engineer-type people with fantastic credentials.
Which means everything.
But the culmination of it is they have this artificial intelligence bot that is still in beta that runs through a Discord server. And you can go in there and type /imagine, and then after that you can type whatever you want as long as it fits within the Discord text limit that they impose upon you. You can type whatever you want, and then it will take those things that you typed and it will generate images from them, like really crazy. Like you have to try it in order to understand how wild it is. You can watch it. You can watch it thinking about it and working on it and like refining it based on what you typed, and then it'll give you 4 options. It'll go, hey, one of these 4, is this kind of what you were thinking? And you can either go, nope, try again, and it will. Or you can go, yeah, number 3 looks kind of close. What do you got? What more of that do you got? And it'll go, okay, cool. I'll take that suggestion and run with it. And it'll just keep on refining based upon your suggestions until you end up with this, one that you're happy with. And you can say, okay, upscale that to super crazy, awesome, detailed resolution. And it just spits it out and goes, here you go. What else you got for me? It's amazing. I think they let you try it like 25. I think 25 queries for free, and then you got to subscribe to it to support their project.
I got
after
24
that.
left.
Yeah, and it's like yours was cool.
Yeah,
What
that was
it?
cool. A shark.
At a cowboy sheriff riding a shark.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Well, your Strayed is fucking perfect.
It turned out wild.
Dude,
Yeah, maybe I'll
crazy
I'll
good.
throw some of them on our Discord. But you guys should go on to the Discord and show us what you create.
Show me what
find
you
it.
got.
Show me what you got. But so I pulled up their website. It's they said their short little blurb is they said Midjourney is an independent research lab exploring new mediums of thought and expanding the imaginative powers of the human species. We are a small, self-funded team focused on design, human infrastructure, and AI. We have 11 full-time staff and an incredible set of advisors. And they're like guides that were, or dudes that were like lead silicon at Apple, AMD, Tesla, Intel, CEO of GitHub,
Losers.
Like, yeah. People that have
losers.
never done anything with their lives and wish they were as cool as we are. But go on there. I'm not sponsored by these fucks. I just found it yesterday, and I think it's amazing.
It is amazing.
And it's worth
cool
worth at
toy.
least going on and burning your 25 freebies just to see what I'm talking about.
It's funny because it looks like a specific artist. It looks like it has its own. I know that you can type in
own
artist
style.
names.
You can type in an artist name as a
Bosch or
prompt, and it'll
something.
try to mimic their style.
That's nuts.
And your suggestions.
But it looks like it's naturally. I think it's Bosch. Hieronymus Bosch.
Hieronymus Bosch.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah.
like he's the guy with the things stuck up animals, weird creatures' asses and shit. It has that kind of vibe, but even more high def. It's like Stranger Things mixed with Bosch.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, maybe mine kind of looks like he's banging the shark.
It does.
I'll take a look.
He is reverse cowgirling it a little bit. And the shark sort of has two mouths going on, I noticed.
I did. Yeah, it's got like two faces.
You get into some
really,
weird stuff too. But
No, that's pretty tough looking. Just my cowboy doesn't have a face. He's not turned around.
But yeah,
necessarily.
and before any of you shitlords get any ideas, they will boot you if you try to do like extreme gore or
Porn.
nudity or
Yeah.
like don't abuse our AI.
Yes.
It's still a baby.
don't taint it. Don't make it a sociopath.
It's got another shark in the background. I
got a
didn't
little
notice
baby
that.
shark. So
I
definitely.
wish I could put that on Discord now. But
So
I'll wait.
one more time, how do they get there and how do they do it?
So go to just Google Mid Journey, all one word, Mid MID Journey, bot, and you'll find it. It'll be the first thing that pops up, and you just go join the Discord, and it just takes you right
type
there.
/what?
Imagine,
And then
whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then you said separate the words between commas works better. I didn't.
I
do
think
that
so.
online.
Yeah, the first time I tried it, I just plugged in a bunch of words like stream of consciousness. I was just like butts, dicks, penises. Oh, I'm not allowed. Okay. But yeah, it seems like it likes.
I'm
when
sure
you
that thing just
separate
like
thoughts by
no
commas.
more dick pics, please.
Yeah, it's funny because you can watch other people using it in real time as well. So like some of their prompts, it's like, oh, you're seeing how close you can push the envelope. They're like
Sexy.
curvy Amazonian warrior woman with
Big.
maybe clothes on.
The big baby feeding things. All right, so that's what we learned this week, and I guess I know some of you are going to go investigate this, and
Please
you're
send
going
us
to
your
be.
results.
Yeah, we'd love to see it. You can throw it in the Discord. You can throw it at info@SKATCAST, or you can throw it
Just
socials.
a ride pod
Just a ride pod
at Gmail.
At Gmail.
It's just a ride pod.
Any of those places, you can do those
Sure.
things. All right, so fuck this. That's our next thing, and
Fuck this thing.
we've decided to say fuck this thing to social media. Even though we just showed you an awesome thing on Discord. And I think Discord is the superior social media.
You know what? I didn't even think of Discord as a social media
No, it's
until
just a
like I
great
was
place.
literally thinking about it this morning. I was like, it kind of is, I guess. Like,
It's
Yeah.
all part of it.
It's media and there's people. So
It's social, yeah,
Damn it.
fuck.
Well, that's
But
the
it's
thing.
special.
I thought it was this paragon of I never fucking use social media.
But it's not MySpace,
I'm on
fuck.
Discord all the time.
I mean, it is fuck social media, but at the same time, it's such a part of our lives that, I mean, it's in our faces constantly.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that I'm not on a phone very much anymore, but most people have been.
Yeah.
Are on a phone hours and hours a day or on some sort of screen.
I justify it by saying I'm reading the news. Reading the news?
what it is?
I feel like this is my overarching feelings on social media is that it isn't inherently a bad thing, but that we collectively as a species just weren't quite ready for it. You know, and I don't know that we even are yet. And I mean, in my heart, I want to hope that like one day we could, as a group, be ready for it. But I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
I mean, I want to
I just
be
don't know
optimistic
because it's
about
just like I feel to me it's like giving a toddler a knife and going go play nice with your friends. And
Right.
it's
Well,
like-
here's the reality.
and then being shocked when he stabs one of his friends for taking his toy.
I know.
Well, here's the reality. We get
Big
on
time.
Facebook to either give our opinion or share a tragedy. That's really what Facebook mostly is about.
Or
And the
because
and
we
the
have a
reality
hard
is-
time forging connection outside of that, so we're just looking for some artificial means of feeling
Which is
connected
making
to
it
other
harder
people.
and harder.
Yeah.
And the reality is
Catch-22.
50% of the people don't care about your problems. The other 50% are glad you have them. I mean, when you recognize that,
You got three
stop
people.
being a victim because nobody cares.
Yeah.
Stop. If your life, if your levity of life is through your victimhood, you're living it wrong. Stop
big time.
doing what you're doing and change what you're doing.
Well, that is the weird thing about engaging with the internet. It's not that the internet's bad. It's just that we see all of the weird, what people are allowing to be public now. Where I think we used to, when my parents were growing up, my dad didn't know what his neighbors thought about politics and shit. You know, it just wasn't, they didn't come over. My grandpa didn't talk to, I never knew what my grandpa believed about shit. They just didn't talk about it. And not that that's good or bad, but now it's like, there's just so much stuff for people to say, and it's in her face, and I don't know.
Well, here's
and now it's incentivized. The dumbest shit is what's the most popular,
Yeah.
the most listened to, the most I don't know. I might be up my ass and also
Well,
probably
here's the thing about that, about social media. Let's say that you do make a comment that maybe doesn't agree with somebody
right.
on Facebook. Now, I've been the guy to say some shitty thing, basically pick an argument because I was entertained, and I agree it wasn't the right thing to do, and I don't really do that shit anymore.
Right.
But if you're trying to have a nuanced conversation because somebody made a post and you don't agree with them, that's just it. They don't know what my political stance is or what my life belief stance is. I just happen to not agree with this one or have a different view maybe I want to talk about or try to understand you, but they think they know everything about me. Mm-hmm. Because one thing that I don't agree, they think they've already got me figured out. Mm-hmm. They know all about my life and what I believe and who I am. And it's just
what sucks is that there's a lot of people that do kind of fall into that thing where it's like, I believe all the propaganda.
Well, it's because
every
everybody's
bit of
picked
it
a team
from my team. Yeah. Well, that's who you're. I'm not arguing with reasonable people if I'm arguing online. I'm arguing with the team members. It's one of the two teams. Like, it is fun. It's fun to listen to libertarians and anarchists and even communists, people that aren't represented by our government. It's fun to hear them argue with each other. Because they're like, fuck, I've got all these, they're deeper ideas. When you have to argue with the teams, you're like, fuck, yeah, we all saw The View, or we all saw Tucker Carlson. Yeah, we know exactly. Okay, blah, blah, blah.
Thanks for regurgitating your sound bites at me.
Exactly.
Yeah. I two things about social media from my side of the table as, first of all, if you haven't figured this out yet, the people that are the most actively involved in giving you pity or affirmation on the shit that you post, they're the people that give the least amount of shit about you. Most of the time, they're just there for your drama. You're their entertainment. That's you're their source of entertainment. So if you think somebody's got your
reality
if you think somebody's your ride or die or got your back because they're always the first person to comment on your shit, they're just waiting for you to have some more drama so that they can be entertained.
Fuck.
So there's a little bit of
That's a little cynical way to look at life, but
I think it's honest.
It hit me like a truck. I was like, "Yep, that sounds better."
Change my mind,
especially in my past.
But I feel like it's
nobody will comment on any of our stuff ever.
Yeah, I know.
Like, that's not why I'm doing it. That's not why we're here. We don't mean with the podcast. We
3 out of 5 stars, no comment.
we like fun talk and real talk, but.
But the other thing that bugs me a lot about social media is you're incentivized to give a curated look at your life, so the most of what you see on there is not the real deal. It's a dramatized, either for the better or for the worse. It's a dramatized version of reality. Mm-hmm. So if you don't see this person on a daily basis or even a weekly basis, and then all you have to interact with them is the shit that they put out there, and you're like, oh, they put it out in our public forum that we created to share together. It must be the way that what's going on in their life. And then you see them in person, and you interact with them in person, and you're like, you're not even the fucking same person that I thought. Like, because I don't even recognize you versus what you put online.
Right.
Like, and it creates this false. It creates this level of mistrust with everybody that you interact with. For me, anyway. I assume it's the same for other people. But like, when I'm like, I feel like you were just like kind of lying to me for a while on the internet, but now that we're in person, you're telling me the truth, and I don't really like the truth, or I prefer the truth, and I'm weirded out that you felt the need to lie to me and all of our mutual acquaintances. It's just very bizarre.
It is weird. It's all about bullshit. It's all about
hyperbole. They think you're not, unless you never enter society,
filters.
we're going to see.
I know. The filters thing is weird. Where it's like, that's not what you look like. Why do you do that?
I know.
You're just setting yourself up for absolute.
That's a super weird thing. Like it's so.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Snapchat started doing this thing where if somebody uses like a beauty filter to send you a snap, it automatically, if I go, okay, I want to reply to that snap, it automatically gives you the same filter first. And you have to like shut it off now if you don't want to use it.
Really?
And so I was like, I went to reply to this gal that sent me just like, hey, look at what I'm doing today, like blah, 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 blah. And I didn't realize she had a filter on, and it applied it to me, and I put the camera on my face, and I was like, God damn, I look great.
I'm beautiful. I wasn't going to do my makeup today, and I didn't need to.
And I realized there was a filter on, and I was like, oh, and I turned it off, and I was like, ugh.
This is a drastic difference.
I'm just going to not reply.
That's how you didn't get to hook up with Shaiden. Aw. That's nuts.
It's wild though. Like it's because I agree with you. It's like we're gonna see you in real life eventually, I guess, unless we don't. But like when we do, we're gonna be like, hey,
Yeah, like that's
you don't even. What happened? Are you okay?
It's like a whole nother level of makeup on some level, where it's like makeup is meant to paint, and I wish guys could do it more. I'd wear the guy liner, all that stuff, but
You can do it.
I guess you can.
Go for it.
Well, Jeff will beat me up. I'll
No,
walk around.
I'm all for
You
the
were a guy liner type.
Yeah,
Do it,
I don't
yeah.
have anything against it.
I'm all
Yeah.
about the guy.
But it is. I mean, what do they call it? Catfishing, all that kind of stuff. Where it's like that's not who you are. You're not that person. You're using
Well,
angles and filters, and
I guess it just depends because like the makeup thing's always been kind of a weird deal to me because most girls that I find pretty, because I'm into girls, right?
right. It's okay.
Most girls that I find pretty, I find them just as pretty, if not more so, without makeup than I do with their makeup on. And for me, it's like, oh, you do that because it's something that you like, so cool. But I don't need that.
Right.
It's not for me. And if it is for me, don't do it because I don't need it.
Yeah, I feel most guys aren't interested in that as much.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's not to
definitely
say that
seems
I
like
haven't
it's a
looked at
culture for
somebody who
ladies.
spent a lot of time on their makeup and gone, damn, you know,
Right,
like that's
for sure. Respect the art.
Mostly because it's like, geez, you spent like you must have been like 2 hours doing that. Like you just did art on your face.
Yeah.
You know,
You photoshopped your face and you did
Yeah.
great. You
It's
did
a
great.
it's a costume, man. I mean, as we were in a band, we wear
yeah.
makeup and costumes, and it's like makeup to me is just a costume, and I guess filters kind of fall into that same category. But it's just like when you only present yourself that way, and you're never just yourself, that's when it becomes weird to me, and that's what
Yeah.
I feel like social media kind of pushes you to be like, if you're not keeping up the facade all the time, then you're not keeping
That's
up
the
with
thing.
the Kardashians, and you
That's-
suck.
That's
you
the
know?
thing about it. It's teaching us that being ourselves is stupid and that we're not good enough. We're not, handsome enough or pretty enough. We're not thin enough. We're not this enough.
It pushes you to compare yourself to other people too.
Yeah, you should compare yourself to the person that you were last year.
Yes.
That's it. And then
or yesterday.
or yesterday, yeah.
20 minutes ago.
And it is
Before you shadowboxed.
I'm a much more relaxed person now. Thank you.
we've got our bit of advice that we give ourselves, and I think that's the end of our stories for today. And this is about non-action and adversity,
Yeah.
and that's on you, buddy.
Okay. So, yeah, this is just something I've been working on myself on because I try to make positive changes in my life as often as I can. Like, I'd like to say every day, but some days I'm just a piece of shit. But, like, as often as I can, I like to be trying to actively making some sort of positive change in my life, whether it's just don't eat that shit thing that you want to eat, or, make sure you get some fucking exercise today, you fat piece of crap that works at home and doesn't move. You
Right.
know, like
Your mind is mean to you.
yeah, it is.
Mine
but,
too.
But for my own benefit. But I tend to get to these points where I feel discouraged when I don't see the results of the good shit that I'm doing. I'm encountering adversity, or it's harder to pull something off that I'm trying to pull off than I thought it was going to be, or I'm pulling it off, but it's not rewarding me the way that I feel that it should be. And it has the tendency to make me want to go, well, fuck it then. Like, why I might as well just enjoy not doing that rather than putting myself in this uncomfortable position of continuing to beat my head against the wall for little to no reward, or certainly not the result that I was hoping for. But those times when I push through that shit and just keep doing it anyway and keep going just a little further down the road, usually that part where I wanted to fucking quit and stop doing it was right before it really started to pay off, and I know that's kind of become a platitude at this point, but it's really fucking true. Like, I try to look at adversity as something that is there to test your commitment to the outcome that you're trying to achieve. It's like,
That's a good way to look at it.
how bad do you really fucking want it? Are you willing to earn it? Are you willing to suffer to get it? You are? All right, then you can have it.
Right. It does feel like sometimes the world's like, you really have to earn this.
And you know what? I am the type of person where I want to earn it.
Yeah.
I want to go through.
It
the
feels
adversity.
better when
It
your
means
meal
a hell of a
tastes.
lot
Your
more
meal
to you
tastes
when you
better
earn
when
it.
you earned it. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. It's a good lesson to learn. That's good advice to try and continually tell yourself.
So it's nothing profound, but this past week it's just been kind of gnarly for me. With just like my head is a mess, and And I'm just, it's been really fucking hot, and I've been working hard on some personal projects, and they're just not coming together the way I want them to. And I was like coming here to hang out with you guys. I'm like, well, at least this will be fun. Like, I know I could sit down and run my mouth with my friends, you know, but I was having it. I was
flap my word hole for
word hole flapper.
I just kind of spent the week shadowboxing and thinking I was going to go out of my mind legitimately.
Raw dogging and shadowboxing, coming up with his 2.7.
But I the thing that I kept telling myself through it, even when I felt like it was starting to cripple me, was just keep doing. If you get in that point where you feel like you're at your wit's end, just don't stop doing. Whatever it is, just do it. You know what you're supposed to be doing. You if you sit down and ask yourself at any given moment, no matter how stressed out or anxious or out of your mind you are, you know the next thing that you probably should be doing is just do it. Or just do a little bit of it. It doesn't matter. But as long as you just keep doing, then you're winning. Even if you're not getting to where you thought you were going to be in that day, as long as you're
do something,
as long as you're taking
you were.
a step or a crawling a little bit closer to it, then you win.
It is one step at a time.
Drag yourself with your lips. I don't give a shit. Move forward a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit.
One cock push-up at a time.
Well, I feel like
towards the finish line.
I feel like the cock push-up is a great place to end this, or moving along with your lips. Both of those are
I'm glad that
good.
I did not give those examples in my last push-up challenge. I'm
25 with your cock.
Pull that off.
Yeah,
25 with your cock.
I'd love to see you
Need
try.
A lot more shadowboxing for that one.
All right, you guys. SKATCAST.com is where you find more of these.
Hell yeah.
You can visit us, or you can speak to us at info@skatcast.com, or we prefer just a ride pod. Just a ride pod.
Just a ride pod
at gmail.com. And thank you guys so much for hanging out with us again. This has been a fun ride for us. I know that.
Been a good day.
Yeah, it's been a good one.
Hell yeah.
So this guy's been Mr. Jeff. Thanks for being here, Jeff.
Hi.
This guy's been Shaiden over here. He's Pooh Bah. Oh, yeah, we got Wank Bob, Pooh Bah, P Bah. And we'll talk at you in the future. It'll seem like the perfect.
It's just a ride. Whoa, oh, it's just a ride.
Bing.
Bong.